They said there was a man who could be seen in two places at the same time. A shepherd kneeling in prayer in a quiet stone chapel, and that same man tending sheep miles away in the open fields. Some swore it was a miracle. Others whispered it was madness. But those who knew him best said something stranger. He was a man who believed he deserved to disappear. This is the story of Saint Drogo of Sebourg, a man haunted by guilt, drawn into solitude, and remembered for miracles that almost no one witnessed, yet no one could explain. Drogo was born in the early 12th century in what is now northern France. From the beginning, his life was marked by loss. His father died before he was born. His mother died giving birth to him. He never met either of them. And as he grew older, a thought began to take root in his mind. A quiet, persistent idea that would shape everything he became. My life cost two others. No one taught him this. No priest declared it. No neighbor accused him. But Drogo believed it. And belief, when it sinks deep enough, can become destiny. He grew into a quiet, thoughtful boy, polite, obedient, but distant. While other children played, Drogo wandered alone, often staring at the horizon as if trying to understand something just beyond reach. He inherited a modest amount of land and wealth, enough to live comfortably, but comfort never suited him. When Drogo came of age, something changed. It wasn't sudden, not a lightning strike or divine vision, but more like a slow tightening of a knot inside him. He began to feel that his life, his comfort, his very existence was unjust. Two lives for one, and so he made a decision that stunned those around him. He gave everything away, his land, his possessions, his security, gone. In their place, he chose a life of wandering, pilgrimage, and penance. He would not live as a man who had been given comfort. He would live as a man who was trying to repay a debt. Drogo became a pilgrim, traveling on foot across long distances, often barefoot, often hungry. He visited holy sites, prayed endlessly, and avoided attention whenever possible. But something began to happen, something he never intended. People noticed him, not because he spoke loudly or performed grand acts, but because of his presence. There was a stillness about him, a kind of quiet intensity that made others uneasy or curious. Eventually he settled in Sebourg, where he worked as a shepherd. It was a simple life, rising before dawn, guiding sheep across fields, spending long hours in silence. But even here, the unusual followed him. Drogo fasted more than anyone thought reasonable. He often ate little more than bread and water. He spoke rarely. When he did, his words were measured and gentle. And then the stories began. At first they were dismissed. A farmer claimed he saw Drogo praying in the chapel, while also watching his sheep in the fields. Impossible. But then another person said the same thing, and another. Soon whispers spread Drogo could be in two places at once. Some called it a miracle, bilocation, a sign of divine favor. Drogo himself never confirmed it. In fact, he seemed almost troubled by the attention, because attention was the one thing he had spent his life trying to avoid. As the years passed, Drogo withdrew further. He chose to live as a hermit, enclosed in a small cell attached to a church. It was barely a room, a narrow space with a small window, just enough to receive food and to see the altar inside the church. From there he could attend Mass without being seen, or so he hoped. He remained in that cell for decades, not days, not months, decades. But solitude did not silence the past. If anything, it amplified it. Inside that small space, with nothing but time and memory, Drogo's thoughts circled endlessly back to the same question. Was this enough? Was a life of hardship enough to balance the lives he believed he had taken? Or was the debt something that could never truly be repaid? People continued to visit. Some came out of curiosity, others out of faith. They asked for prayers, for guidance, for blessings. Reluctantly, quietly, Drogo gave what he could, and strange things continued to happen. Animals responded to him with unusual calm. Sick individuals reported healing after his prayers, and the stories of bilocation never fully disappeared. Yet Drogo never leaned into these stories. If anything, he resisted them, because to him, these were not signs of greatness. They were distractions. Late in his life, something happened that revealed the truth of Drogo's inner world more clearly than any miracle. A fire broke out near the church. It spread quickly, consuming nearby structures. People rushed to put it out, shouting, running, panicking, and someone realized Drogo was still inside his cell. The flames crept closer. Smoke filled the air. They tried to break through, to reach him, to pull him out, but the structure around his cell made it difficult. Time was running out. Inside, Drogo heard the chaos. He understood what was happening, and yet, he did not run. He did not cry out. He did not try to escape, because in that moment, a thought came to him, simple and unwavering. If this is what I deserve, I accept it. It was not despair. It was not fear. It was acceptance, complete and absolute. But the fire never reached him. It burned around the structure, consuming what it could, and then died down before overtaking the church itself. When the smoke cleared, Drogo was still there, alive, unharmed. Those who witnessed it called it a miracle. But for Drogo, it was something else entirely, a question. Why was he still here? After the fire, the stories about Drogo only grew. People spoke of divine protection, of holiness, of a man preserved by God. But Drogo himself remained unchanged. If anything, he became even more withdrawn, because the attention, the reverence, the admiration, it all felt misplaced to him. He did not see himself as holy. He saw himself as someone still trying to make sense of a life he never asked for. Yet, despite his reluctance, his influence spread quietly, not through sermons or writings, but through presence. People left his window feeling calmer, more grounded, less burdened. It was as if the peace he struggled to find was somehow given freely to others. Drogo died, after decades in his small cell. There was no grand spectacle, no dramatic final words, just a quiet ending to a quiet life. And yet, after his death, the stories remained. The man who lived in solitude, the shepherd who became a hermit, the saint who may have been in two places at once. But perhaps the most important part of his story is not the miracles, it's the tension he carried his entire life. A man searching for meaning in suffering, a man trying to reconcile existence with loss, a man who believed he owed something and spent his life trying to repay it, and whether he ever believed he succeeded, no one can say. But maybe that's why his story endures, not because he had answers, but because he lived the questions more honestly than most ever dare to. If you found this story meaningful or thought-provoking, make sure to like and subscribe for more stories like this. Stories of forgotten lives, quiet struggles, and the strange ways meaning finds us when we least expect it.